you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I don't want to do this again later. I mean, maybe I should, but okay. So we're 7 lines up from the bottom, but it's an interesting thing. It's always chavre. Ahu damale lechavre, right? I mean, they're fighting in Bezdin over property, and the Gemara keeps calling them chavre, right? Which basically tells us, which the proper way, I forgot which sefer says this, but the proper way to have a Bezdin is to go to Bezdin, and I think Rav Sego, the Manchester said this in his sefer. I think I heard it quoted. I didn't see it, but he said the proper way to go is you go to Bezdin, and he said, Bezdin, you tell me who's right and who's wrong. You get your psak, and you are continued to be a friend. Right? You should continue to be a friend. It shouldn't become there shouldn't be any animosity. You just try to figure out what the Torah wants, and that's it. And then you move on.
The mashma that from Marcus in the first verse, the first daf. Also, you go to Beis Din and the Paskin, and but it's also it's called Akifa there also. You know,
right? Yeah.
Why not?
No, it's true.
A proper lashonaki. Why are you any less friends just because you have a machlokas? I mean, why does that doesn't make you? That doesn't make you enemies. It just means you have a machlokas. You know, it's like I played a chess game with you and I won. What we hate each other now? No less friends. Well, this is obviously Israel, a different mitzvah. So you gotta, of course, there's Ava there is, you know, Chaver. Okay, there's another Muslim. Okay,
anyways, okay, there you go. Okay, so there you go. So, anyways, so he's called a Chaver. So then we have a bunch of scenarios. My boss, Bahai Pesa. What are you doing in this house? It's my house. Amrle, he said, what do you mean? I bought it from you. And I again, achlis doesn't mean 8. I guess it's partially from that, but it means I was there for the years of chazaka. He said, now this is a fascinating one. He says, well, I was living in the house at the same time as you, but I was living in the inside of the house. You were living in the outside of the house. Meaning, the way the Rashbam explains it is that he saw him in the outside of the house. He just thought he's his guest. So he didn't say anything to him. So really, he didn't make a macha on him for 3 years. Imagine you have a guy sleeping in the house for 3 years. You don't make a macha because you think he's his guest. All of a sudden, he turns around and says, oh, it's my house. I bought it from you. You were my guest. Right? So that's the fight. So Asla Kamed Rav Nachman, they came in front of Rav Nachman. Amrale, Zil Boror Achilascha. Now, this is a very seemingly difficult psak that Rav Nachman gave him. He said, go, you should clarify it. Right? You have to prove it, basically. So Taisus immediately asked, 1 second, prove it. Right? What do you mean prove it? So that means what use is a chazaka if he has to prove it? Right? And here Rav Nachman said he has to prove that he was there for 3 years. So if that's the case,
I don't even understand. If the original owner is living in the house, how can the other guy make a chazaka on it? Even if he was there for 3 years, the other guy was there also.
Right, but he says you never made a macha on me, and it's my house.
I don't have to make a macha if I'm there, or I have to make a macha if I'm not there and you're living there. I have to make a macha that you're living there and it's my house. But I was there also. So I have to make a macha even if I'm there?
You're saying you're living, you were there. You're just saying you were living there. The other one's got Adam that he was living there.
No, the other guy admits it also. He says, I was in one room and you were in the other room. I saw you in the other room and I was in the other room. He's not denying it.
No, there's no denial here at all.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm in my house. Now I'm just saying why it's weird that the guys that they saw each other for 3 years every day and never said a word to each other. That's weird. And now they're calling each other Chavrei?
Well, who says they could have said? Who said they didn't say a word to each other? They could have said a word to each other. He just never made a machon and says, by the way, this is not your house.
I don't know. I thought it was 3 years without the other guy being there. or without the other, but the other guy's there. So I'm just saying, I'm saying this so Naftali can walk into your house. You see him every single day and say, "It's my house. It's not your house. You never made a
Yes.
macha. I'm in your house every single day, and you never said a word. Prove to me that it's not Naftali's house."
No, I think he makes a macha about it every day.
Okay.
By the way, I just say, you know that you got a problem when I get credit card offers and my address to Naftali line.
Just using him as an
Right.
example. I wasn't trying. I was trying to give a good
I
example.
just made your example better, David.
Right. I'm just telling you, is
Now
that
he really
a
has a
chazaka?
chazaka.
Right,
that a chazaka?
and you never make a macha, so therefore, okay, Naftali now could come after the
Right.
summer, say it's my house, not your house.
Right. And he'll even have a star. He said, look, I get credit card offers to his address. Right?
I don't know, but you're there every day also.
Right. But again, he's saying that he bought it. Right? So anyways, the way Tyson says is that it's a whole, basically what you're saying, David, is that this whole situation is messed up because the guy is living in the house, the owner is living in the house. So Mamela, in this situation, he has to prove it. Like basically what you're saying. He's saying in this situation, you don't have a chazaka. Right? Because meaning you have to back your chazaka up because the guy is living in the other side of the house. That's essentially how you have to look at it. So Rava disagreed with Nachman. He said, "Hachi dina, meaning the one who is tining on the other one who wants to pull out money from him is the one that has to bring the proof, right? So this guy's been living in the house for bottom line, even though you claim you're living on the inside of the house, but the bottom line is he's been living on the outside of the house. Not a normal thing for a guy to live in somebody else's house for 3 years. If he's living there and you're trying to kick him out, so you have to bring the proof. Right? So the Gemara asks, okay, so again, Rav Nachman holds that the burden of proof is on the guy who's in the outer room, meaning the guy who's the how do you call it, the guy who's defending himself. And Rava says no. Rava says the proof is the guy tining on him has to prove it. So Varami the Rava, Varami the Rava, Varami the Rav Nachman, the Rav Nachman. Let's ask a stira from Rava onto Rava and from Nachman onto Rav Nachman. Dahu onto today's daf. There's a guy said to his friend, again his friend, right? All the belongings that of Bar Sisin, I'm selling you. Meaning he had access to all the belongings, all the fields of some guy named Bar Sisin. He says, I'm selling you the entire, what do you call it? A portfolio. I'm selling you his entire portfolio. Right? Havayahi Ara, so it was a land, the Hava Mikri Deve Bar Sisin. There was one land that was called the Bay Bar Sisin. Right? Now the Rashbam points out and says this land, people didn't know whether it actually, if the guy bought it from Bar Sisin, and that's why it still was, it's still called the Bar Sisin portfolio, or maybe that was just the name. There's a Yerusha. So Amalei, Halav Deve Bar Sisin, so the seller said, no, you're not entitled to that property. That one did not actually belong to the Bar Sisin portfolio. It's just called that. So therefore, he's not allowed to have it. Also, Rav Nachman, and he said the guy who bought it, right? He said the guy who bought it, he bought all the Bar Sisin lands. Mamela, he gets to keep it. The seller is tining that this particular field did not belong to Bar Sisin. That's his fault. Not his fault, whatever. That's the burden of proof is on him. Rava says that's the din.
It's mashma over here that the Reuven, the seller, Reuven also owned this other property that had this name, coincidentally. But it's mashma because otherwise his taina would be on Joe Blow, who owns that property. So some taina is on this guy who owns the Reuven, the seller, who sold the portfolio. He also owns that other Bay Bar Sisa place also. Otherwise You can't. It says if I have a place that's called Woodburn in Hawaii, and I sold you Woodburn here. Well, I don't own Woodburn in Hawaii, so you can't taina that I sold you Woodburn and Woodburn over there because I didn't. So it only would be a good taina if I also owned that other place, or it would be a taina at all. But so this other place must be in. It must have been something that the seller also owned in order to have
Okay, whatever.
that kind of work,
Yeah, it could
at
be.
all.
But anyway, yeah, but how do you say it? Right. So what he's saying, right? You want to prove that the Barsisan, this thing is considered part of the Barsisan portfolio, so he has to give it to you. I mean, you have to prove it, right? So anyway, but what do you see from this? That now the opinions have reversed themselves. Here, Rava is saying and Rav Nachman is saying that the guy who's trying to take the field away, meaning the seller, is the one that's right. So we have a stira. So kasha the Rava, kasha the Rav Nachman, the Rav Nachman. So it's a kasha on both. So the Rava like kasha hasam meicher kai b'nechseh. There by Barsisan, the meicher is whose bottom line is who has who what do you call it? It's not chazaka. Who what's it called? Marakam, right? The ches was marakam, meaning who had it first. Meaning everybody agrees that the guy complaining that he doesn't want to sell the field, everybody agrees that he had it first, and he has it now. So Mamela, he gets the chazaka. And here, meaning by our case, where the guy was living in the outer rooms of the guy's house, he's also living there. So Rava always goes with the chazaka of who definitely had the land. The Rav Nachman's not a stira either. Kivan the Amrale, the Bay Barsisan, since he told him that this is the house from Barsisan, Umikra the Bay Barsisan, and Mikari the Bay Barsisan, and it's called that Alei Day Ramya Ligluya. So he's mechuyev to show why it's not. I'm sorry, I stopped too early. Alei Day Ramya Ligluya the Lav the Barsisani. It's on the onus is on the guy, the seller, to prove why this field is not included in the portfolio. But here, by the guy living in the outer field, it should be no different than somebody who's holding on to a star, and that somebody is fighting him on that star. And then you keep it. Right? What's the normal thing when a guy brings a star to business? So what do? Got to prove that the star is valid. So the same thing here. You're saying that you bought the house from the guy and you've been living here for 3 years, but prove it. Right? It's your standard thing. So really, that's the difference between the two. So therefore, there's no stira. Fine. Next case. A guy tells his friend, my boss Bahai Besa, what are you doing in this house? Right? He comes home from a business trip and he's got a guy sitting at the kitchen table. He says, what are you doing here? It's my house. I bought it from you. And I've been here for the years of chazaka, for 3 years. He says, I was in the shuk. I was on business trips out doing business in the shuk, which we really need a mishnah later on that tells us that the chazaka, that a person, if you don't make a macha on the land, you lose the land based on the guy's chazaka. That's only if and when the guy had access, meaning he was around to potentially make the chazaka. But if a guy was stuck overseas and it wasn't so easy to get back, then the squatter doesn't have a chazaka.
Right? I thought we said he doesn't have to do it in person. He could do it wherever he is.
Correct. That's true.
So and chaver is place. So he should have known. He should have known, and he should have made a macha wherever he was.
Correct. But right. So now this is little knech. This is why you got to learn a whole masechta. You're right. Chaver is like you don't have to make a macha, but the Rashbam says that that's only when there's access from, meaning there's communication, potential communications, right? But if there's no regular transportation, communication between the two areas, then it doesn't work. Meaning that this that the guy didn't make a macha, and I don't know if it means, I'm not sure if it means that he didn't make a macha because how's he supposed to find out about it, or do we say it's not chavra chislei? I think it's the second way. It's only chavra chislei. See, nowadays there's no such thing as no chavra chislei. Everything is chavra chislei, right? I mean, we find out instantly. What's going on, right? I mean, I was in camp last Friday and I didn't know what was going on. The guys on the internet knew more what was going on in the camp, and I'm 5 feet away, right?
And what about Biden was known on Shabbos? Everybody knew Trump. Trump was shot on Shabbos. Everybody knew it.
Right? Yes, the characha. So that it doesn't apply anymore nowadays. But yeah, so that's what I think it means. Either way, so he said I was overseas, so I can't. So this I didn't make a macha is meaningless. So I'm a leiva isli sadi, but I have witnesses. The chol shata have a asas plus in yomi says I have witnesses that every year you came back for 30 days. So since we know we have witnesses that you were back, why didn't you make a macha then? Amarlei plus in yomi b'shukai have a tiridna, which is also a weird answer. Right? He says, no, when I came back for those 30 days, I was busy doing business. Right? So I was busy doing business. Fine.
Says
so
the
that's
Rashbam said, right? The Rashbam says it was his second house anyway. He was in a different house. He wasn't in that house.
Well, it can't be that he was in that house, right?
Well, it could be based on the other Gemara where they're in separate rooms.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I guess
he was busy on his computer in a different room, and he didn't realize the guy was there.
I mean, would a taka change? Well, I don't know. I mean, it makes sense to fit that into the case. Right, but would it change? Meaning, would it change if it was only his initial house? Then maybe it's more of a taina that he should have been there, I guess. Is it going to be ma'akiv? Right? Anyways, okay, so what's the psak here? So Amar Rava, Ovid Inish, the Kol Tlasin Yaimi, Tarid B'Shukah. That's a normal thing to do. A person is tarid in the shuk for 30 days. So therefore, he could meaning, and he has a good excuse why he didn't make a macha, and he gets back his house. All right? Fine. Next case. A guy says, my boys Bahayar, what are you doing in this land?
Yaakov, just the Rishonim discuss what happens if the guy didn't make a macha and he waits till the last 30 days of the 3 years. Can now he say, oh, I was busy the last 30 days in the shuk, if that works or not?
Again, what's the case?
The guy waits. Somebody doesn't make a chazaka for 3 years. The guy knows he's there, but he doesn't make a macha. He knows somebody's in his house, and he waits until the very, very end of the 3-year period. And then when there's 30 days left, and then he gets busy in the shuk. So do you always go after the last 30 days, the beginning 30 days?
Right.
That kind of thing.
You mean you're saying that's the diak made because it says because the Gemara says Ovid what is it?
Right.
Ovid no. When he said to him the kol shata have a osas plus in yomi. Every year he came 30. That's what you're going on.
Yeah, and the Mekir Yosef says, I think you see from here that you go only after the last 30-day period. I think if it's normal for the person to not make a macha for 30 days, so then even if he leaves it to the last 30 days, it won't create a chazaka.
Right.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, that's I mean, it's maduyik like that in the Gemara.
Yeah.
Right? That's very good.
Anyways, well, I get sidetracked, but that's interesting.
It's good. No, it's a good diak. So again, my boss Bayar, what are you doing in this land? Amalei, he said to him, I bought it from Pliny. The Amar Li does not mean that he bought it from you. You hear what he's saying to him? He's saying, I didn't buy it from you. I bought it from somebody who bought it from you. So he's being maida that this guy did own the land. He's just saying, I didn't buy it from you, I bought it from somebody else. Amalei, atlav kamoidis, aren't you moided to me? On Tom Bays now. Tahayara didihi. You're moided to me that this was mine, right? This is my land. Va'atloi zavintaminoi. And that you have not bought it from me. So what do you have here? All right. So he basically is saying, 1 second, why should I give up the land to you if you're moida that I own the land? And you're moida that you didn't buy it from me. So you're saying a baloney story that you bought it from somebody else. And you have a chazak of 3 years. But he obviously didn't have the star. If he had the star, it would change everything. So Zil, he says, go. Lav baldvarim didiat, you are not my baldvarim. I have nothing to do with you. Right? So Amar Rava Dina Ka'amarle, he told him properly. That is correct. Why? So the Rashbam says, because Hados Baldin, Kameya Edom Dami. Right? Meaning Lamaisa, he was Maida. Meaning he was Maida that the guy that the house belonged to him. So he's making up the story that he bought it through a third party. Okay. That has nothing to do with him. So Rava sided with the person making the macha. Fine. Next case.
What is the new guy supposed to do? There's always the possibility of this happening. And every house, unless it's new construction, every house has had more than one previous owner. So you always have to keep your star now.
I think they're trying to say the guy has to say in front of me, the guy bought it from you, or that I bought it from you. You can't say someone else did it. If you look in the Tosfos Olive,
meaning if you say, yeah, he would have to go. Yeah, if he says he bought it from a third party, so then that would be a problem. He has to say that he bought it from him straight.
He didn't. Every time I bought a house from someone, that person bought it from someone else 10 years prior. So if the guy before comes to me and says, what are you doing in my house? And I don't have a star, what am I supposed to do?
No, Hanami, that is the case.
Move in with Fiaco.
Got rid of the whole
you can say in front of me the guy
with this
bought
kind
it.
of stuff. You were talking about such a.
What are you saying?
Can't hear you on the pool. It's bad service on the pool.
Oh well, okay. I hear you.
Go ahead, say it.
I was gonna say I don't understand. You were talking about how this is such a geschmack generation we live in now. People then there's gemaras about them having relations with chickens. If someone comes into my house and says, "This is my house, get out," I'm gonna shoot him in the face. Why are they having a logical argument? Get him out of your house or bury him in the yard.
Because they lived there for 3 years, and you didn't say anything for 3 years.
Okay, and now
if you say anything after day one, if you say anything after day one, there's no Gemara. It's the guy who lived in the house for 3 years.
The beginning of this, it says Amalei L'Chavrei. It's only talking about people who have chaverim coming.
But also, the guy was living there for 3 years, and no one said a word.
If you're trying to take your house.
What?
Doesn't sound like it's your friend.
Yeah, but you're not going to shoot
do it in America. If you do it in America, you're going to sit in jail for the rest of your life, right? Because you can't just because it's your house, make a tasty, right?
That's why no one's breaking it. That's why no one's living in Jesse's house.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, fine. So my boss Bahayara. What are you doing in this land, in this house, in the land? He said, I bought it from Pliny, and I kept my chazak years. God, he's a crook. Right? This is one of those gemaras that makes me feel so happy why I try not to paskin choshev mishpat shalos, because this one I would totally get wrong if you ask me. If you took a poll of anybody in this gemara here, right, we would get it totally wrong, I think. So anyways, he says to him, what are you doing in my house? He says, I bought this house from a different guy and I've been in there for 3 years. He said, the original owner, the guy who claims to be the original owner, says, the guy you bought it from is a crook. He stole the house from me. He sold you the Brooklyn Bridge. Armaleva Asli Sadi. But he said, I have Adim. I have Adim that I asked you whether I should buy this house from this guy. Right? I went to you and I said, you were the previous owner of this house. Should I buy this house? Meaning, is the plumbing okay? Is the roof okay? I'm saying I'm juicing it up, but that's essentially. I went to ask you, but Marta Lee Zils of it. You told me, yeah, buy it. It's gewaltig. So why, what happened now? Now you're saying that the guy stole it from you. Why don't you tell that to me when I came to ask you? Amarle Hasheni Noyachli. He said, the one who's the second, meaning you, is easier for me to take it away from you. Harishan Koshem Menu. The first guy is difficult, meaning this guy's from the mafia. I'm not interested in trying to get the house from him. He stole the house from me. I am not interested in with him. So I know he's selling you the house. Great. I'm going to tell you to buy it. I'm going to go after you.
Is that really a good answer?
Like I said, I would never have thought that would even be a psak. Right?
First guy was Jesse. He was going to be shot in the face.
Isn't that a little lifnei Eva?
Is it lifnei? I don't know if it's lifnei. Well, the guy's not doing anything wrong.
He's giving him bad advice, telling him he's setting him up for a deal.
Are you saying lifnei Eva on that? He set him up for a bad deal. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I hear that. I didn't think about that. That's Taka, a good question. How's
I
he
don't
doing
know. It's his house. I mean, he's just trying to get his own house back.
Yeah, but you can't go misguide somebody.
Yeah, I can't put someone into the pickle for that.
To get my own house back? Maybe you could.
No,
I'm saying
yeah.
that's not
$400,000 I could get my house back.
Halachically, righteously. You could do whatever you want, but righteously. You're talking halachically.
You could also do like Jesse and just shoot him, but that also probably wouldn't be
He was bad. Yeah, I don't know. I better watch when I talk to him now.
It's okay. I don't have my CCW yet.
I knew it'd have to do with this week's Parsha. If you shoot the guy, then the Yorshim are going to come after you now. The Yorshim are going to say, hey, this is our property.
Especially if they Yisaim him, that'd really make a monkey. But you're right. So now, no, but maybe Taka Reb Dov, maybe Taka. Now does it make a reyes on the guy? If you Taka hold it's lifnei Eva, which it sure sounds like it. So does it make it a reyes on this guy that this guy is not on the?
I don't know.
Yeah, here I'm didn't think of that. It's a good question. I don't know, but anyway, so that was his psak. So Amar Rava, Dino Kamar Lei. I'm sorry. Rava says that's the din. That is the din. Go figure, right, David? I'm saying, I don't know. I can tell you, I would never have thought this, which is scary, right? But anyway, so the Gemara says, Mari Asakasha, Keman Ke'adman, which is the interesting name of an Moira. Who is this? You're going with Adman's Pshat. It's not Ha'ir al Asad. Somebody makes a Ha'ara on Asad, meaning he comes and he says, the field is not yours. The Chasam Alav Aleh Ba'id. Now, this guy, imagine this case. This guy, I bought a land from somebody, and then the guy comes to me and says, by the way, that's not my land. And I tell him, what do you mean? You signed on the shtar. You signed on the shtar that this is my land. Right? Meaning, obviously, he couldn't sign on his own shtar, meaning he went through a third party. Right? Again, the same. I mean, it's essentially the same case that we had. I bought a land from a third party. The guy who's the original comes to me and says, it's my land. So I tell him, what do you mean? I bought it from the guy you sold it to, and you signed on it to me, right? So how can you tell me what kind of baloney is that? The guy could say, yeah, the reason why I signed on it is because I'd rather deal with you than the first guy. The first guy wanted the house back. The first guy's a jerk. You're much easier to deal with, right? Same case, except here he didn't say he's a crook. Chacham say, no, you're out. Right? Chacham say you're out. Because what are you signing on shtaris that the guy's buying a field from you when you're saying that I guess he does have to say he's a crook. right? So, so that means, so what's the kasha? So that means we're passing like a das yochid because it's chachamim against admon. Normally, we go with the majority. So why is Rava passing like admon? So now we get into a difference. Afilu temer rabbanans, we say Rava can even go according to Rabbanan. Hasa, which is why we pass in this way. I mean, based on the basic Shulchan Aruch, I don't know how we pass in Lamaisa. Right, Hasa of it like Maisa, there he did a Maisa. Right, meaning he actually signed on a star. That's too much. Meaning you want to mislead. Maybe Rav David, this answers your kasha. You want to, I don't know if it doesn't really answer your kasha, but maybe it helps. Meaning you want to be a jerk and misguide somebody. Okay, fine. But to actually go sign a star when you know the whole thing is sheker, that's too much. You lost your sus. People talk. Right? So people talk, so it's not a problem.
So we're talking about how strong of a raya it is that guy is, right? The whole thing is it a raya that it's his or not? So speaking is much less of a raya than signing on the star. Right? The whole thing is we're trying to figure out whose land this is. Right? We're trying to figure out how strong of a raya are we bringing or not? Right? That's the whole need here. So if he signs the star, so that's a big raya that the guy is not his land. If he just says, "Oh, the second guy, yeah, go get the land. It's a good land," so then it's not a raya that it's not his because he just wants to deal with the second guy, not the first guy.
So which way are you going with it?
No, I'm just saying that the svar of Hasheni Noach Rishon Kashim, and I don't think it's not such a. I don't think it's a bad. It's not so hard to understand.
No, I understand. Right. No, I'm saying
because if we're dealing with rayas, that's a good defense that the guy has. Listen, I told him to get the field so I could just get it back.
Right, but I'm saying it's a little bit of it. It's a stretch. I wouldn't have thought that's meaning. I hear the svara, but the paskin like him for that. I don't know.
Right.
But anyways, fine. My boss again, same case. What are you doing in this land? I bought it from Pliny. And I ate the years of chazaka. He said Pliny is a gazlan. But I have witnesses that you came last night from Martali and you said to me, sell me your land. I want to buy your land. Meaning last night, the guy occupying the land says, last night you came to me and made me an offer on my house. Obviously, he told him no. Next day, he goes to Bezdin and tells him, this guy is illegally bought my house from somebody else. Right? That looks pretty bad on the guy. So he said back to him, Amina, Izvan dinai, I'm going to buy what's my din. Meaning, basically, he's saying, and Omar Rava, Avid Inish, does Avin Dina, and Rava Paskin that way. Rava said a person is to be willing to buy something and not basically he's buying his din. He would rather, and there are many people like that, instead of going to Bezdin, they're willing to spend who knows how much money not to deal with the headache. Right? Which is maybe a good thing, maybe a bad thing, I don't know. But this guy was willing, at least he was going to attempt, I'm not going to go to Bezdin. I'm going to try to make this guy an offer and buy the house off of him and finish, and everybody will be happy. But the guy said no. Okay, he said no. Now I got to fight. All right. So Rav is saying we would go like that. Fine. Another case, the guy says to his friend, "My boss, Bahayar, what are you doing in this land?" I bought it from Pliny and I ate the years of chazaka. Right? But I'm holding on to a star to Zavni Lemine that I bought it from him. Right? So I'm sorry, the Zavni Lemine Ha'ar Bashani. I bought it from him 4 years ago. Meaning this is the standard, right? You could see this fight happening. A guy says, I have a chazak. You guy knocks on the guy's door and said, whose land is this? He says, mine. Well, you bought it? He said, yes. I had a star, but it's after 3 years, so I lost my star, but I have a star, it was mine. He says, yeah, but I bought this land 4 years ago. So Mamela, you're saying 3 years, I bought it a year before you, and I have the star to show it. And you don't have a star, so therefore you're out. Meaning, this guy sold in the Brooklyn Bridge. He double sold his house. He sold it 4 years ago to me, and he sold it 3 years ago to you. So therefore you're out, meaning the title company did a bad job for you. So Malay, so then the guy who was living in the house said, "Misavra shnei chazaka, tlas shnei
And the owner gets to pocket both sales.
Well, he's a crook, the owner.
He's the crook, but he gets to keep both. He gets to keep both sales.
Yeah. What else? I mean, you could try and get it out of him, but I say right now they're trying to deal with who gets the house.
I don't know. We still call him a chavre here.
Yeah, it's a good horror. That's a good point. So Malays, he said, when I said that I did the 3 years of chazak, you think I meant dafka 3 years, which means that you bought it a year before me? Shnei chazaka tuvaka amina. I meant I did the minimum 3, but I did way more years than that. Right? Meaning, so now we're getting into terminology. When a guy says that he did the 3 years of chazak, does he mean he did 3 years and that's it? So Mamela, when this guy said, well, I did 4, he gets the house. So do we say, no, I did the minimum 3 years, but I did lots of years? So Rava said, Avidi inchi de karu l'shnei tuve shnei chazaka. People do call it shnei tuve, they call it shnei chazaka. Right? And Mamela, he gets to keep it because he didn't mean dafka 3 years. He meant many years. But b'hani mili da'achla sheva. That's only if he used it for at least 7 years. Why? Because the guy complaining said he got it 4 years ago. So you have to make sure that the fellow that's in the house had it for at least 3 years before the 4 years. So it has to be that he at least said or has proof that he was in the house for 7 years, which would make him have a chazaka before this guy's 4 years. The kadam chazaka da'ayla shtar da'af, that this guy's chazaka comes before his shtar. On Tomid Aleph, Shis. But if he only did it for 6 years, then there's no bigger macha than that. That the guy shows him, hey, you had the land from 6 years ago, and you claim you had it 6 years ago. Well, look at this. I have a shtar that shows that 4 years ago I took it. So Mamela, there's no bigger macha than that, and then he's going to lose the land. Right? Meaning he should not have lost his papers. He lost his papers, it's his problem. Okay, so these are interesting cases. It's gishmak. I wish we could spend more time on it. A limited amount of time, but more time. Anyways, okay, we'll stop over there. Say a tillim.